Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first virtual One for the Books. I don't know that any of us could have imagined at last year's One for the Books that we'd all be gathering together in this way this year. But we're glad you're here, wherever here is for you. We hope you're safe and well. My name is Ken Bigger, and I'm the Executive Director of the CLA, and I'm coming to you live from my home in Hyde Park. This is indeed a live event. We are live streaming. And I'll have some news to share at the end of this event. You'll be relieved to know that I'll be far from the only voice that you'll be hearing this evening. I want to allow a few moments for those people who are just now joining the live feed. I know that many of you have been participating in some board-hosted Zoom happy hours, and I hope you've been having a good time connecting there. I want to thank our board for hosting those and for being our host for this event. I wanted to mention that I am coming to you from my home office. Some of you may be aware that I've had kind of a series for my friends where I've been sharing relevant titles that so many of us have been following the stay-at-home order and posting. I've been posting a selfie on a daily basis with various pertinent titles like Never Home Alone, or Reinventing Jobs, or frankly, Joe Mino's Hairstyles of the Damned. This evening's selection, however, was How to Tie a Tie, because I have to confess, it's been about 3 or 4 months. So in any event, I wanted to give us some time to get convened, and I hope you all have had a good time at your various happy hours. Before I begin the rest of the program, I wanted to take a moment at the start to thank our sponsors. Our sponsor support has just been tremendous, and we've been deeply grateful for their flexibility and their continuing commitment in the creation of this reimagined gala. We wouldn't be here tonight without their belief in our work, and I want to thank you all for that. Thank you again to our sponsors. Now, I need to acknowledge at the start that recent months have presented a lot of challenges to us all. We at the CLA have been grateful for all who have rallied to support our work in this time, as we've found new ways to do our work and to support our members. One for the Books is itself a time to rally. It's a time to respond. It's a time to celebrate the gift of literacy, and it's a time to give the gift of literacy. Tonight, I'm going to talk about literacy in the context of recent events and make the case that literacy can make a real difference in them, and that you can help make that difference. At the Chicago Literacy Alliance, our mission is to improve literacy in Chicago by driving collaboration and increasing the impact of our community's literacy organizations. Many people take literacy for granted. It may feel automatic or something natural, but literacy is an invention. Now, perhaps it's our greatest invention, but it was an achievement a long time in coming. If you'll imagine that the human species has been on the planet for 24 hours, we've only been reading for about the last half hour. Nobody is born able to read or write, or able to learn it on their own. So in addition to being an invention, literacy is also a gift, often the most profound gift we give to those who follow in our path. It's passed down as a link between parents to children, or from grandparents or caregivers to children. But for many, though, that link has been broken or just isn't there. Literacy is a collective achievement, but it's more fragile than we imagine. Now, as I mentioned before, we've all been through a lot in the past few months. We've been enduring a global pandemic, something that's introduced a kind of uncertainty that many of us haven't ever experienced before. And it's also one that's revealed deep inequalities within our society, as the impact of COVID-19 has fallen disproportionately on communities of color. There's also been a way in which it's fallen disproportionately on those who are living with low literacy, as those living with low literacy are less able to work remotely. They're less able to access health information and advice about how to socially distance and to navigate the re-entry process. Then, within recent weeks, after a few months of this pandemic and the stay-at-home order, we've seen new instances of persistent systemic racism in our country and an inspiring uprising against it. This is a moment that requires us to broaden our focus from the crisis of the last 4 months to the crisis of the last 4 centuries. For the CLA, that involves, in part, recognizing that the denial of literacy and the denial of an equal education has been a central element of systemic racism over the centuries in our country. It's a sad truth, but it's also one that points to a promise of the work that we do, and that literacy can be a key to turning the tables on that and making progress towards greater equity and greater justice and greater inclusion. The pandemic and the ongoing crisis of systemic racism can feel overwhelming. It can feel difficult to know where to begin and how to make a difference, but we can make a difference through literacy. Many of you may have been experiencing some difficulty in reading fiction over the recent months. This may seem like a trivial loss in the broader context of things, but it tells us something important about the need for our work, particularly within the communities we serve. Neuroscientists explain that the difficulty in reading fiction this time has to do with all of the uncertainty of the pandemic, its hidden nature, and its indefinite duration. This scientific insight made me realize that many, many more people are experiencing the kinds of stresses, the kinds of anxieties that the people in the marginalized communities that we serve and our members serve face every day. From food insecurity, to housing insecurity, to job insecurity, to community violence. These stresses impede our ability to learn, our ability to process. So in some way, many more people now have a newfound first-person sense of the challenges we and our members take on. Many of you have been able to watch our online content over the past week to gain a greater sense of how the CLA and its member organizations are driving change. We're asking for your support this week, especially tonight, so that we can use literacy to turn the tables. Before I list some of the concrete ways in which your support can be helpful, I want to share with you a new premiere video discussing our member impact, showing our member impact through the voices of 3 member leaders. I'm now going to turn it over to this member impact video.
The work of literacy is such a huge task.
1 in 5 adults in Illinois struggle with basic literacy and English language skills.
It's impossible for one organization to do it all.
The Chicago Literacy Alliance is an extraordinarily diverse, intelligent, and collegial group of well over 100 literacy organizations. When we learned about it, we immediately wanted to become members. My name is Joan Shapiro. I'm founder and executive director of Reading Between the Lines. Reading Between the Lines uses discussion of literature with the formerly and currently incarcerated to build critical thinking and communication skills. Before the pandemic, we would go to 4 sites, mostly on the west side of Chicago. Since we could no longer do that, we had to figure out how to do it online. The people that most of us serve have expectations to finally get some support. And instead of having the door slammed on them, we're trying to keep the door open. And I think that's true with all of the members of the Chicago Literacy Alliance.
My name is Jarima Gorham, and I am the founder and executive director of Burst Into Books. Burst Into Books is an organization that is centered around arts, advocacy, and family and educational programming. The way we're able to do that is through literacy. And so we host our monthly book club sessions, workshops, conferences. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we have definitely pivoted our services to become online. Chicago Literacy Alliance has done an amazing job of just staying connected with us in the work that we're doing. Organizations that I've been able to connect with because the Literacy Alliance allows me to still provide services to my families when maybe I didn't have an insight on how to do that.
My name is Christine Kenny, and I'm the executive director at Literacy Works. We train volunteer tutors who go out and work in the community with adult learners. We also provide a lot of professional development for the staff that run those programs. Literacy Works has changed a lot since mid-March when all this really began. Basically, everything we offered before is now available online. Now we're actually reaching people outside the Chicago area. Being a part of the Chicago Literacy Alliance gives us a physical place to go, but also we are now working with all these different organizations, some of which have turned into very significant partnerships.
We are part of an umbrella organization that's dealing with an issue that's critical to our society, to the city, to the future.
Literacy can come in so many different ways. It's not just in the written form. Oral conversation, storytelling allows people to grow in their literary skills.
The ability to think, to talk, to read, to communicate is the basis of a productive and an enriched life.
We're working with refugees, we're working with immigrants, we're working with people who fell through the cracks of the Chicago public school system, and it's really improving their lives.
To work with a group of colleagues who are genuinely helpful and want all of us to progress. That's the CLA platform.
I want to thank Joan and Jerema and Chris for their inspiring words and for the inspiring work that they're doing in the community in support of literacy. Now I'd like to turn to speak to a few ways of how your support this evening can make a real difference, particularly in this moment, in the work that we're doing to support literacy across Chicago. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been working with our membership to provide virtual training for our members, with an extensive series of webinars allowing them to respond to the crisis and the need to deliver services in new ways to the communities they serve. We've also been doing virtual networking and resource sharing. I convene a weekly ED Executive Director roundtable discussion that allows a confidential forum for us to share our insights about how best to respond to this moment. We're also helping our members bridge the digital divide, as so many of them are trying to find new ways to reach the communities they serve. And your support this evening can help make all of that happen. And as you've seen in the member video, a big part of what we're doing right now is keeping our members connected with one another so that they can be stronger together. Your support of the CLA at this time will also help us and our members work very closely with Chicago Public Schools and Chicago Public Libraries in finding new ways to reach those communities most affected by the crisis. Some of you may be aware that we recently conducted an extensive survey of CLA member programming in CPS schools, which will allow us as a network to find new ways to target the areas in greatest need and to make the greatest gains in literacy. Your support can help make that happen in the coming year. Finally, and in some sense most fundamentally, your support will help us weather this current storm. Many of you are aware that a number of our CLA member organizations joined at a time of the state budget crisis a few years ago when funding was tight and they needed to find a way to make sure that they could continue to deliver programming. The CLA has always served as an umbrella organization, and right now it is most definitely raining. Again, these are some immediate, impactful ways that your support this evening and throughout the year can help make a difference for literacy in our community through the support of CLA and our members. The Daily Show's Trevor Noah noted a few days ago on his Daily Show at Home that sales of anti-racist books and other books that help undercut the pervasive culture of white supremacy are ones that are just flying off the shelves virtually right now. They've rocketed to the top of the bestseller list across the country. It's also the case, I can attest from multiple sources, that the Chicago Public Libraries is also seeing extensive 6-month waiting lists for these very same titles. If this is your intuitive response to a moment of need, a moment of crisis, to read and to write more, to understand your situation and your feelings in response to the world, then take a moment to recognize how much power you can give to others living with low literacy, by allowing them and empowering them to use these same tools. Now, one of the pleasures and the privileges of One for the Books is that it allows us an opportunity to recognize individuals and organizations that are really driving progress, driving change and positive action in education and the literacy space across Chicago. And that's why it's our pleasure tonight, and indeed our honor, to recognize Elizabeth Taylor with this year's Chicago Literacy Alliance Champion of Literacy Award. We established the Champion of Literacy Award in 2019 to recognize an individual who has shown extraordinary dedication to advancing the cause of greater literacy in our community. You may know Liz from her contributions as the current literary editor-at-large of the Chicago Tribune, or the creative director of Chicago's famous Printers Row Lit Fest. I know Liz as an advocate, partner, and important voice for literacy across our community. Liz has worked in many profound ways to create a broader, more engaged, more diverse, more inclusive community of readers and writers. I'd now like to present a brief pre-recorded message from Liz.
I'm just so honored to receive this extraordinary award, and I'm so grateful to be honored in this way. These are issues I really believe in, and sort of the collective of raising everyone up, bringing people together in celebration of literacy in this city. Again, thank you so much. And as my dear friend Stubbs Trickle would say, onward.
Thank you, Liz, and congratulations. We're delighted to be joined with you in this cause. Our next award this evening is the Leader in Literacy Award, which was also established in 2019 to honor and recognize a corporate partner who has shown dedication to promoting literacy across Chicago and beyond. Our honoree this evening is BMO Harris Bank. BMO is an engaged and generous community partner supporting not only the CLA, but many of our member organizations. BMO's community support focuses on innovation, collaboration, and learning. Those are three things central to what we do, so it's an ideal match. I'd now like to turn it over to CLA board member Jamie Freeman for a brief pre-recorded message on behalf of BMO Harris Bank.
Good evening. It is an honor to accept this award on behalf of my colleagues at BMO Harris Bank and as a board member of the Chicago Literacy Alliance. At BMO, we are driven by a single purpose: to boldly grow the good in business and in life. At our core, we are focused on driving positive change for our customers, our employees, and the communities we serve. That is why our commitment to community is fundamental to us, and why we are so proud of our partnership with the Chicago Literacy Alliance. The CLA's innovative work strengthens the sector by offering shared resources and effective collaboration opportunities. I've seen firsthand how the CLA builds connections across its members and in our communities to amplify and accelerate critical literacy services that drive us towards our goal of a 100% literate Chicago. It's why we owe the CLA and all of our nonprofit partners here this evening our thanks, now more than ever. Our communities rely on you to offer exceptional services and support, and we expect these demands will intensify in the coming months and weeks. We at BMO are grateful for all that you do. I'd also like to congratulate fellow honoree Elizabeth Taylor for her dedication and accomplishments. Thank you, Elizabeth. And to everyone attending virtually tonight, thank you for your commitment to the CLA, and thank you again for this special recognition for BMO.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, BMO Harris Bank, for all that you do for our community to support literacy. It's now my pleasure to introduce another friend of the CLA, board member Selena Evans, who will be joining me on this live stream to share a few brief remarks. Selena?
Hi, everybody. Hold on. I need to get a bid in really quick. Furious bidding on these lovely books on here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this evening and for supporting the Chicago Literacy Alliance. I hope you and your family all remain safe and well amidst a hard and heartbreaking moment in our city and our country. I, for one, was disappointed when I heard our stay-at-home order would prevent us from gathering in person. But the important thing, well beyond the fun of an evening dressed up and a book race and all of the fun things we normally do, is the opportunity to connect with those who share a similar passion for this important work. We are here tonight to support literacy in Chicago, to help give the gift of literacy to all our communities. We're here to recognize our honorees. Congratulations to Elizabeth Taylor and to BMO Harris Bank. We also want to thank our sponsors who truly help bring the CLA's work to life. Ultimately, we gather because we, all of you, our honorees and sponsors, we believe in the power of books, education, and access. We believe in the spirit of philanthropy and a community who sees and supports this need throughout our city, especially through these difficult times that highlight the need for literacy in new and extremely profound ways. Thank you, Ken, for providing us insights about the disparities and inequities in literacy that plague our communities and that make it difficult for our underserved populations to confront the challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic and negatively impact participation in the anti-racist movements and hinder much needed anti-racist education. We are all here this evening because we believe in the importance of this effort and we all want to make a difference. If you hadn't had the opportunity to watch the pre-recorded videos from our events this week, you can access them on the website, and I encourage you to do so. To highlight a couple of the messages that really resonated with me, author Sandra Cisneros called this moment a time of transformation in which books can be our medicine. Author Alex Kotlowitz talked about books being windows in an otherwise dark and dim room. Your generosity and support tonight enable our member organizations to provide that medicine and that light. I hope that the messages from these authors have inspired you during this trying time as much as they have inspired me. As you saw in our video, our members are a strategic, thoughtful, and diverse group who have come together, even in a pandemic, to embrace this moment of transformation. Their work and our work is more important than ever. So thank you for all your support of the Chicago Literacy Alliance. On behalf of the Board of Directors, please know that we truly couldn't do this work without you. I'm going to turn it back to Ken for one more update on our fundraising progress and to draw our golden raffle ticket. Thank you again for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Selena. Thanks for that message, and thanks for all of your support and your leadership at the CLA. I want to thank you all again for being here. I'm very, very much grateful for this community here tonight online. Your generosity is deeply appreciated. While we still have gifts coming in, I'm pleased to announce that our fundraising total, I believe, is just a hair shy of 61,000 towards a goal of 81,000. So we're 3/4 of the way there. You can still donate to our event page tonight, and bidding for the auction, which Selena is obviously furiously engaged in, so I hope you're joining her in that, will be closing at 9 p.m. As Selena mentioned, one final piece of business is to announce the golden raffle ticket winner. We pulled the name of the lucky winner just a few moments ago. The winner will be contacted immediately following this evening's event to claim their prize, to take home any book of their choice before the auction closes. And the winner tonight is Kim Grickus. Kim, congratulations. Thank you for your support. Now, before we draw to a close, I want to again thank the CLA Board of Directors. I also want to thank the Liter Associates, our Associates Board. I know that they've also been hosting events, and they're a big part of this community here this evening. I want to thank the board and the Associate Board for their generosity and their support of this event. The entire CLA staff is grateful for your belief in our work and for all that you do to push us forward and to support our efforts. And now thank you for your presence here tonight, especially to our sponsors for their generous support and their leadership in this community of giving. We're so glad that you were able to tune in to our program tonight, and we want to thank you for helping us reach our vision of a 100% literate Chicago, where the transformative power of literacy is available to all. I'm now going to bring it back to Selena for one final goodbye. Again, thank you for joining us, and have a great evening.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for your tremendous support.
Keep those cards and letters coming.